as a public health practitioner from rural Chhattisgarh, when we talk about a little bit about both all the various components of health systems, the space stuff, skills stuff, and systems. So, and I would start by saying why go for these is also important to be considered. I hear in the media that one is talking about only preparing for the third wave, or are we preparing for future pandemics? If the need for this robust health systems, or actually to have resilient health systems for all health problems in future, by taking cognizance of the fact that we failed this time, people. I would say the third is the more important reason to do so. And I now want to draw upon this one slide from what I learned from the Thai model of universal healthcare, where they say, what is a triangle that can move the world in this case? If you want to get for universal healthcare, then one, that it requires the people's demand, which I think at the moment it has to be channelized and be expressed that there is a need for healthcare, because that's one of the classic problems about health is a human right, that healthcare is a human right, that people, when they are sick, they can't ask for it, and when they are not sick, they don't feel the need for it, and that's something that we need to all continue to do. And how that healthcare, how that health systems have to be developed to be able to deliver UHCs, we have the knowledge and evidence, some of which we are sharing today together, all of us. And there has to be a political commitment and a will, which I think is missing in at the moment. But this is something that has to we have to sort of struggle for. And if I talk about staff specific issues, I would say yes. One, it's already been mentioned that we need a public health cadre. This is a necessary requirement for us to get the right type of robust health systems. And I would rather, the focus that that we've been hearing the previous two speakers speak more about physician and nurses. I would rather look at more focus on non-physician health workers being brought back, even though because it has not been given importance, even though it was already been recommended 10 years ago by the MCI also, the then MCI, whether it was to run the rural health, rural health practitioner course, or now the CHO course, which is being taken on, but is being implemented in a very timid way, is something that one has to sort of invest in more, not only through better training, but also mentoring them. And the ASHAs, certainly, already been mentioned about 1 million such, are workers who need to be sort of supported more. I would say, so surely we need to train more formal health workers like doctors and nurses, but with all the concerns that Dr. Sundar just mentioned. But I would add to this very important component, which as a need, because of the conflict of interest, and because private practice by public system physicians is like private public practice being within a single individual. A banning of private practice by system physicians, this is a bullet that we need to bite. Otherwise, we are unlikely to get systems that will really work with the staffing issue that we already have. Even if some people want to leave, I think they should be given a kick on their golden kick on their backsides, and then yet we start with something and continue with people who are committed to public systems and run the systems well. Communitization is necessary for in staffing. ASHAs and other non-physician health workers have to be supported. I would even add to this that for chronic illnesses, transferring power and responsibility in a sense to the support to the peer groups that can be formed for chronic illnesses would be one such area where healthcare can be actually taken out of hospitals and doctors' control. Teleconsultations with all the requirements, all the constraints that it removes the public the physical examination from our repertoire of diagnosing illnesses, as well as unburdening the system of actually going to the people. Teleconsultations have a role, but a limited one, I would say. And using information technology that is supportive and not to police the peripheral health workers is something that we need to do, to use to support using apps that may be developed very well for the peripheral workers. And obviously the ASHAs need to be, I would clearly recommend this, that they need to be taken as, as workers and given them full wages from an increased pool of funding that goes into human resources. And that would be one way to improve the absorptive capacity, as it is being criticized in healthcare, which is poor. Yes, there are these some establishments like Rogi Kalyan Samitis and hospital management committees need expansion, but and more more clear representation of the people. But these watchdogs and whatever community-based monitoring models that we have need to be sort of supported. Without which, and we can learn from this from the Brazilian experience in this. Far more, as well as experience from Maharashtra that we have had to improve the ownership and monitoring. Skills, I would say clearly in the staffing that we have, one skill that is completely missing, one set of practice that is missing in our system is something that we need to get is mentoring. Even physicians are not mentored in this country, forget about other non-physician health workers. So a formal program of mentoring, not only as individuals, but even as teams of people, whether it's at primary healthcare level or whether it's primary or at a secondary level care, has to be gotten into this as a separate new program. Training certainly of not only physicians, quality issues that have been already flagged, and I would say something that was recommended earlier, over to form district knowledge centers with the district hospital as a base to support the entire state. The district would be an important way to go for ensuring skill transfer. When it comes to stuff, I would say clearly these two things, both the drugs and the diagnostics, have to be made available if we want to reach anywhere close to any strength of the public health systems to improve the footfall. And so the fact that this should not be called free drugs, there should be drugs available, all the essential drugs and all the investigation that are essential diagnostics should be available from the public system, and not sort of people shunted to the private sector, without which I think any approach of a robust health system is impossible. So whether we know the Tamil Nadu Medical Services Corporation leads by example. I know that the other states have not warmed up to their example, but it's something that without which we cannot hope to get without free drugs and diagnostics for all the requirements in primary healthcare. We cannot even think about anything that any of the staff or space can deliver. And the essential diagnostic list that has been made should be implemented and provided for by the public system, as some states are already trying to do. Space, I would say, should we have more medical colleges? I would clearly say, with all the cautions that Dr. Sundar mentioned, yes, it's not a great idea, because let's face it, physicians are not going to go to rural India or marginalized India. By just flushing people down into those areas is something that is unlikely to work. We should have those practices in place before we open more medical schools. As this otherwise this becomes an optical illusion. More nursing colleges, yes, I think that is certainly useful. To more allied health professional support. Their institutions are in doldrums, and they need to be supported far more. What about this oxygen plants? Yes, that is something that has been talked about, but only in the light of COVID-like illness. But yes, there are more things. Beds, yes, 2 per 1,000 population is a requirement, and that should be gotten. ICU beds, 10% is being suggested for district hospitals. And what about pediatric beds? I hear a lot of people say about that the third wave, this bogey of pediatric problems occurring in the third wave of the COVID pandemic is actually a bogey. But yes, if that gets some services for the children for other illnesses, not COVID. COVID is not going to be a bad illness in children in the near future, in the third or fourth waves that I can think about. And but yes, it would be useful to get some beds for sick children also. Getting the regional virology research and additional vaccine production units in every state would be a great way to move forward. Medical oxygen factories in every state with the required tankers for immediate supply to hospitals, and a center for communicable disease control would be necessary. And LMO generation plants of 150 tons in every district hospital is also a clear way to go forward when it comes to space. And a 50-bedded isolation ward, which 10 should be for ICU beds and minimum 5 ventilator beds. Even though ventilators are often not used, are more useful for snake bites and other illnesses rather than COVID. So what about cities? We know that cities have failed the people in COVID. So to develop multi-use community centers, which can be used during natural disasters as well as pandemics and during lockdown periods, would be a way to go forward, even regarding future health systems, which can be used for isolation, quarantine, or community meetings also. So there would be also provision of water, sanitation, clean night shelter in all these places. Should be something that can be thought of while we go forward. Surveillance in systems, I would flag 3 things. Surveillance, yes, surveillance of both the diseases and as of the determinants also would be a great way to, would be an important thing, something which is sorely lacking in our system at the moment. Medical audits of all our practices, including prescriptions, would something, a formal program to put in place, and that is even monitored well, that it's done. And having health technology assessment units as in each health system, whether at a state level, being supported by a central health technology assessment unit, would be one way forward, as I would say, which is something that that has been sorely lacking till now. And something like a health, a UHC, sort of a regulatory body, which is separate from the line departments of health, would be a great way to think about. And we need to think about universal health care sort of a paradigm, and not an insurance-based model that we have been subjected to, and somewhat we feel that we are resigned to that sort of a paradigm. Is something that we need to think out of the box at the moment and really start again thinking about UHC. This and elasticity of the public health systems is necessary for managing pandemics and other crises that we can think about. So where immobile resources should be built and strengthened, but there should be all the mobile resources like skilled medical teams, technicians, and infusion pumps can be rostered and alerted for immediate deployment, and moved from one place to the other during programs. And that obviously telemedicine we have talked about, production units for drugs, antivirals, and essential medicines, and enforcing Clinical Establishment Act, which is human and not only sort of very generic which is does not recognize the diversity of health services that are provided. And finally, I would say that it can't be said enough that we need to regulate the private sector for quality, rationality, and pricing, which is something that is completely uncontrolled at the moment. Thanks for allowing me to be in.